Howdy y'all, this is Texas Gaming Industries here, and welcome to another episode of my Let's Play of Now Boarding, and the first new video of 2026. So in the previous episode, we really started expanding heavily and started getting more planes and starting to strategize our routes so we can more efficiently handle our growing number of passengers in each city. And hopefully we'll continue doing that, as in this episode, we continue to serve more cities and earn more money, acquire new aircraft, among other things. Without further ado, let's get into Europe. So, we need to purchase the blue terminal, which we actually have enough money for at this time. Which will probably... Oh, wait. It requires 20 grand, so we'll have to hold that off for now. But the end of this month will be different. Now then, let's set a plane for serving the cities around this area. Now we'll need to set a plane to service the eastern part of our operations. Fly 10 destinations at once. Then we need one to service the western end of the map. Alright. Let's get those passengers on board and send this plane out. While it's not very efficient, at least it will pick up passengers from other cities and bring them into town, into Zurich, where they can transfer to other planes. Alright, let's see, any passengers coming back on board? Yes, one from London, and that's it. We got 4 for Zurich, well, 3 for Zurich and 4 for Kiev. Still have some people waiting for their flight to go down to Lisbon, which has arrived with a large amount. We got some for Budapest, and we got some for, well, Lisbon. Probably might have to set up another plane or two to keep up with the demand on all of these routes. Yeah, we got a lot of people to be picked up in London, so I have to get a plane there as soon as possible before they all freak out. Alright, 4 for London and 4 for Copenhagen. Let's get those passengers on board. We got some passengers bound for Budapest. Bound for Brussels, I meant to say, not Budapest. Let's see. Just keep these passengers happy as much as possible. Use existing route. And once all those passengers get off, once this flight will get on board, and we'll send this one out. And we got a speed bonus, that is good. Alright, so we got some more passengers coming in. We got some for Luxembourg. We got some for other cities too. And it's the final month. Well, it's the final boarding. No more passengers are on the map. Let's just try to get as many as we can delivered. That's our main goal right now. Let's see. Wow, a lot of people wanted to go up to Copenhagen. And Helsinki as well. Let's see. Yeah, that's all the passengers it can take. Use existing and see how many people can get on this plane. Same for this one heading to the east. Yeah, we're not going to get everybody taken care of. 42 failures! Ouch. Well, we do have enough money now to acquire another plane, which I believe will probably acquire another 777. Let's see. We would get 9,000. It needs 20 grand for that. That'll give me up to 18. Oh! Goal achieved. Blimp. Does not carry passengers. The blimp makes passengers happy and addresses who supplies around. It also works as a helicopter. Okay, cool. Speaking of which, how much will it be? 12 grand to sell it back. Alright. So, we'll probably set this blimp to whatever city has the most passengers to keep them off. And since we got a new airplane, we might as well set up the route for it. Let's see. Yeah, I won't be able to go down to Lisbon, it's too far. But with that happiness radiating around it, passengers will practically won't mind watching the blimp fly by. And with it set to come back to the airport, that means these passengers, we won't have to worry about passenger anger very much in this scenario. Gosh, I can't speak. Okay, we'll send that plane out. Send this one out. Yeah, it will restore their happiness by a little bit. And there's also a pathway between Vienna and Warsaw to get some extra cash, but I don't think I'll be able to get it. Okay, we got another full load of passengers. Let's get them off and then start reloading them as quickly as possible. Send the plane out. And let's get some of these passengers together. Alright, use existing, use existing. That plane out and try to get all these passengers on board. Though we'll have to wait for the plane to get back. So we got some passengers bound for Glasgow and some bound for Lisbon. Yeah, that blimp is actually doing really well. That is nice. It's keeping many of our passengers happy, and we won't have to click so often just to make sure they get happy at all. Let's use the same again for the blimp and get these planes in so we can get these passengers loaded up. Alright, final boarding, last call for passengers for their flights. Let's see if we can get as many people as we can on board for their flights. Alright, no more passengers at the airfield. Well, airfield, I meant to say airport. B, A+. A+. Another A+. A+. Let's see. A+ again. Another A+. Let's see. No passengers on this one. That's good. One passenger for Zurich. got a pretty good, decent chunk of change. Now with that money, we could probably expand the blue terminal. But considering we're still trying to keep up with passenger demand, I'm actually going to buy another 777. Alright, now I have a good amount of planes for several different areas of the map. Which is going to be the same route for one of the others, but in reverse, and still have this one serve on the eastern part of our operations. And with our blimp just floating around, passing through the cities, and people being very excited to see it fly by, I have a feeling that our passenger troubles are going to be fully over thanks to that blimp. Alright, we got some passengers heading down to the hub. There's a lot of people at Copenhagen. People wanted to go to Copenhagen. Alright, let's return. Let's set it out on our zoom route again. Use existing for this flight plan for this airplane. And use existing for this one. Along with this, the service on the western end of Europe. I think with all these 4 planes, we're going to really start earning enough money for some major upgrades. Because once we get the blue terminal, we'll have access to 5 bays, which will be very helpful as our operations get more and more hectic. Let's set this route and set that plane down to pick up any passengers bound for the eastern or western parts of the map. Okay. Somehow I can't go up there and click on it, unless I put the camera up there. Use existing, and use existing. Alright, a lot of those passengers got off, and now, yep, all these passengers are heading for Luxembourg. Oh wait, not Luxembourg, Lisbon. Yeah, there's no Luxembourg on the map. Alright. Wow, there's a lot of people going to Lisbon. There's not even an event going on. I guess a lot of people just want to travel to the Spanish coast for a vacation, I suppose. I mean, it's fair. Lisbon is a popular tourist destination both in Europe and abroad. Alright. Passengers unloaded, and oh, those two are not looking peachy. Let's use existing again to get the rest of the passengers on board, and we have one boarding. That means that there is no more passengers respawning on the map. Let's see how many people we can get out before the timer runs out. Got a huge amount of people heading down to Lisbon, so we'll send that plane out. Hopefully the next plane will return back to pick up these 2 passengers heading for Linsky and Warsaw. And just in the nick of time. Alright, you're gonna go on a special service between Warsaw and Linsky for the rest of these passengers. Then you'll return back to your normal flight schedule in the next month. And I believe with that being said, we did it! 148 passengers. That's pretty good. And with 22 grand, let's get the blue terminal. Goal achieved, blue terminal. We now have an additional gate and purchase blue items. Tenant remote renovated, new terminal to opens today. It's blue, airline employee of the main Magdalena. Alright. Now with a much bigger space, we can now actually start moving things a bit more freely around here. We're kind of getting a little cramped for space. Now, let's see. We need to add is the air mail shop, which itself is worth about 20 grand, same as for the blue terminal. And considering that we're already in 2000, we will need to make some money, and quick. Now that we have more space, we can now put the hot dog stand and the pizza shop right next to each other up there. That actually looks pretty cool. So passengers can get a choice of either a hot slice of pizza or a hot, juicy hot dog. There's also a cinnamon roll stand along with the arrival of the bagel stand. And I believe there's also the Walk Star, which is pretty which earns a little bit of extra money. Let's see, any other facilities? Bagels, cinnamon rolls. Oh, right, there's also the sports bar, the souvenir shop, and the newsstand. Which I do not have enough money to acquire any of them. So we'll have to get started with the next bump in order to earn that amount of money in order to get some of those things. I think I might also have to invest in more seating, because these passengers keep coming in and they will not be able to get a good spot to sit down. Oh, I didn't mean to send that plane off. I'll have to wait until it flies back. But at least, however, now with the 5 gates, all the planes will be able to dock. But now we really need to start making enough money to cover everything that we have spent. Now let's see, I think it was this plane to go back the other way, I believe. I'll just wait for the other planes to get back and then hop on the schedule from there. Let's see. Okay, we're still doing pretty good. I think all of these new routes, or corridors, as I'm going to call them, are actually doing pretty well. Okay, we got one that goes all the way around. We already got one that goes the other way. We got the blimp. Let's see. And we got one that serves the western end of Europe. So we'll need one that services all the eastern parts of Europe. And that will probably do it for that route. Okay, with the blimp now actually keeping up with the passenger numbers. Well, not passenger numbers, at least it will calm them while they wait for their planes to pick them up. It's better than them practically going full on fury mode. Okay, get the passengers back on board. Any passengers heading to their respective destinations will get onto this flight. Let's see. These passengers are going to head down to the western part of Europe, which are passengers bound for Lisbon or the British Isles. Let's get the passengers on board this one. Oh wait, that one was heading for the eastern end of Europe. Eastern end is with Kiev and Moscow is. Western end is where Lisbon and London is. Gosh, I need to remember my coordinates. And send this plane out. Bring this plane in, use existing. And that's the final boarding. No more passengers will spawn on the map, which means now my planes can actually keep up with the demand now being brought in. Because we got a lot of people heading for Lisbon at the airport. Let's see. Yep, this one is heading for Lisbon. And since there are no more passengers, the blimp can practically be stationed here for now. I don't understand why you can't move a plane to another terminal. It doesn't make sense. And I'll run a special flight for the passengers for Brussels. Send that plane out, and we are done with the month. 151 passengers. It made 24 grand. That's pretty nice. Now, let's see. What can we add to to this area? Let's see. Sports bars are expensive. Place ultra stores along the walls. Yeah, let's actually get the sports bars so we can get some people to relax. And for equipment, let's see. Can we get enough blue seats? Let's see. Blue seats are 2 grand a piece. So let's see. Oh, I actually have enough for 5 of these. That is going to help so much. Let's see. Yeah, I think I might have to order a 6th one to complete it. But with much of these seats, now there will be plenty of space for passengers to sit and wait. So let's get that plane's route set up along with this one, and then start setting up the one for the eastern part of the map. Jeez, why can't I get my coordination things correct? We'll send that plane out and send the blimp out on its usual run. And send this plane out for its run down to the western end of Europe. Send these planes out. We got extra cash from that money cloud, so we are practically going to be rolling in money. Right, passengers are exploring, they're enjoying their time, $8, and then grabbing a cup of coffee, getting some sweets from the candy shop, then grabbing some snacks, buying potato chips, getting their ticket, and then just catching their flight. So at least they got something to do to pass the time while they wait for their flight to arrive. Though the plane has already been full to capacity. Send this plane out and just get all the other passengers on board for their respective flights. Okay, send that out, and once all the passengers are on board, we'll send these two, we'll send them all out. Alright, there's a lot of people wanting to go to Kiev. So we'll have to get some more passengers. We gotta get people onto the westbound flights for the western corridor. Western? I meant to say eastern! Eastern corridor. Jeez. I'm so focused on trying to make sure that all these passengers get to their flights and not freak out that I'm actually forgetting stuff. Okay, let's get these people on board, use this service, and get some of the other passengers to their final destinations. Plus, with the large airport size and plenty of facilities and seats, at least a lot of people will be able to find their planes and chill while they wait for their flight to arrive. We'll have to use existing for the blimp again, so at least everybody will be happy. And we gotta get some people on board for a flight to Kiev, so we'll have to wait for the eastbound plane to return on its eastern corridor. Another money cloud, that is good to hear. Okay. Final boarding, only a handful of passengers left on the map, would be too difficult. Passengers on this flight, and there's some passengers from Zurich not looking peachy. Let's see. Get those passengers on board on that flight. Get the passengers on board on this flight. Oh dear, I'll have to send a special plane to Kiev for these three. And with that, we're done with June of this month. Wherever, yep, 155. It's good. We got 26 grand in the bank. And I believe that's a pretty good ending point for today's episode. So if you had enjoyed this episode of my Let's Play of Now Boarding, please be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe to Texas Gaming Industries for new video uploads every Friday or Saturday, depending on my outside schedule. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next episode. Bye!